Hello and welcome to Essential Ingredients. I want to welcome my friends and my colleagues here today. My name is Justine and I'm going to be your host. So, for those folks that are just tuning in for the first time, I want to welcome you. I'm so happy that you've chosen to tune in today to hear from Nancy. She is the co founder of a new skincare line. And you're not going to want to miss this because the inspiration behind this is just so beautiful. Her products are non toxic and they're better for you and better for the planet. So it's a really inspirational conversation. And I think that whether you're interested in cream or just interested in entrepreneurship, you're not going to want to miss this. So don't forget to tune in. And at the end, there's a little discount code, but you got to listen to the whole thing to get the discount code. So thanks again for tuning in.
Justine.
Nice to meet you.
You too. I'm so excited.
Oh, me too. And guess what I got here?
Yay!
In a
Good.
box. We were trying it this morning.
What do you think?
Yeah, I like this rose water and bergamot.
We wanted to just be like fresh without like kind of like nondescript. But some people are like, is this like bergamot? I'm like, well done.
Well, but it's, like my partner, he was like, oh, I don't like bergamot. And then he tried it. He's like, oh, it's not like heavy.
No.
No.
Everything, yeah, no artificial colors or fragrances. So everything kind of rings true in a pure way.
Consistency, like when you put it in your hands, feels a little like powder does.
Right? It's soft without being greasy.
It
And
feels
I
like
always say it's like you can do something like open a door after you put on hand cream.
yes.
What a
It, fe-
concept.
it really feels like the consistency of powder. No, I think so too. And you were in what, the beverage area earlier?
I was, yes. So that's where I cut my teeth, so to speak. And yeah, it took a real hard left turn. It's like, hey, let's join a more competitive industry than even that was. But you follow your passion, and when you have a purpose behind it, everything becomes a little bit more clear.
Yeah, and I also think that there's a lot of skills that you get running, a beverage company that are transferable, supply chain, or operational, all sorts of things. I mean, and when you're using organic products, the conversation of shelf life and all these different things come into play just as they do in beverages. And the ingredients are so key, right? Because you want to be able to maintain the integrity of a natural product or a good product that doesn't have too many different things, and equally you want it to be shelf stable at least for a while so people can utilize it.
Absolutely. Yeah, like exactly. And it was interesting too with turning industries. It's this weird haze comes over, and I almost forgot some of those skills that I had until somebody reminded, like, didn't you just sell into Costco? I'm like, oh yeah, that was me. I forgot. And then like, okay, cool. How do we approach that instead of coming from a place of your deficiencies or like, I'm not an esthetician, and just kind of playing into your strengths of like, no, but I still know what a great product is and I can help you serve a purpose. And as desert dwellers here and everywhere, it's like we believe, hydrated skin is it's a right, not a privilege. So
So
yes.
we have the rose glow. I love rose, not just because my grandmother's name was Rose, but I just
Oh,
love rose, right? So you have the rose glow, which is the hand cream, which to me, like I said, feels like powder. Like I could still touch my phone after. um
absolutely. Yeah. Nice and soft. I sometimes find myself petting my hand if it's on. It's a little soothing mechanism as
right.
well. And people sometimes have adverse reactions to the word rose because they're afraid of smelling like their grandma or whatever that is in their head. We use rose water, which naturally softens your skin. So that's where the rose comes from.
I
So, yeah.
like that. And then, of
Yeah.
course, we have the Cactus Crush here, which is a
Mm,
natural body cream with prickly pear, hyaluronic acid, and organic shea butter. So I'm curious
yes.
because I know you came from beverage.
Yeah.
What was your process to come up with the ingredients and the formulas for these?
Absolutely. Well, creating beverages is a whole other ball of wax because there is so many different levels of maintaining carbonation, and like those things were way more interesting to me, and I did not have the technical skills for that. So it was more me observing and absorbing what that whole process was, but also just being aware of the ingredients themselves. At that point, it was more of what was the shelf life? How do we make this a craft beverage that can sit on the shelf and last and still deliver the same uh, taste and carbonation levels, all those things. When it came to the skincare, it almost was a lot easier because being in the desert, like our backyard is the Sonoran Desert, and there's these native plants and minerals that we had access to that literally were down the street. A cactus farm down the street is where we get our prickly pear juice, for instance. And celebrating what we have is the whole purpose behind it. Like that brings joy because we get to share all these ingredients with people everywhere. And these ingredients are also just happen to be like the longest living plants in the world. They're also, the most hydrating plants in the world.
So when you moved from the Midwest to Arizona, this was new information for you, I imagine, right? Like you're now learning about the Sonoran Desert and you're learning about all these plants. So how did you take that interest and who did you lean into to create the product? Because you were interested in it, but I'm going to imagine you had to do some research or surround yourself with some other experts so that you're able to be able to build or create a product that is both impactful, creates change in the skin, is beneficial, and maybe even can show some studies or something, because there's so many products out there.
Absolutely. So it's all about relationships in every venture, every project that I've had in my whole life. And, just kind of thinking about it before our chat today, I was like, wow, I've been really fortunate and I have so much gratitude for relationships. So I did start the brand because a friend of mine that I've known since high school was diagnosed with melanoma a second time. So that started my journey, and it came from a passion of like wanting to help her. And then in turn, I was able to learn all this about natural skincare and how much your skin is absorbing.
I just want to go back to your initial comment where you said, it was the inspiration from your friend who had melanoma for the second time. Was it about creating something to prevent melanoma? And were you thinking that, this was going to be something with an SPF to prevent the sun, or was it the ingredients? I'm curious where and what was the impact of your friend's illness and how it manifests itself in the product.
Absolutely. So it came from the ingredients, and she was kind of leading that discussion too about how much toxicity we can absorb in our skin. And it never occurred to me it's the largest organ, and it we can take in 60% of what we apply topically to our skin. And so I let her kind of educate me to a point, and then diving into it, um, SPF is definitely a part of her life. I was focused more on the ingredients, that making sure that they were wholesome and good and clean and were non-toxic. So that's where that kind of conversation led. And then my husband actually was working with somebody who was looking to kind of expand her line of skincare. So we connected, and Christina is now our 50-50 partner. And she was as passionate about the formulation side of creating only natural, non toxic ingredients. And I was fortunate enough to partner up with somebody who was an encyclopedia, who has grown up in the area, who knows these ingredients, who suffered herself from different skin ailments and wanted to have something that was clean, that was, effective as all get out and beautiful. So I got to be on the sales and marketing and brand creation side of it, and then working in synergy with her of creating the lineup that we have and making sure it served a purpose. So it did come back to relationships of just being open to it, knowing I wanted to take action, and then kind of manifesting the whole the whole partnership.
So now that you have her on as is she a co-founder?
Yes. Yep.
Yes. So now she's on as a co-founder, and she brings to the table the experience of creating products.
Mhm.
What I understand, is that correct?
Absolutely. She's like,
So,
I want to be in the lab. I want to do the math. I want to like figure these things out. So yes.
okay, awesome. So when she did that, she's done this before, so it's not
Mhm.
her first time at the rodeo.
Yes.
There's been a lot of questions around natural products and the impact and the efficacy of them. What did you do to address that as you're building this product and it's a beautiful product, you've got great ingredients, but really you want to be able to let people know that X% of people, when using this, will do blah blah blah, right? So tell me a little bit about how you pulled that together and what you did to communicate and educate consumers around that.
People think that something made in a lab will automatically be more powerful, will automatically give you this different result. But we remind people that science is pulling from what nature already knows. So it's not vice versa. Like nature is not trying to catch up. Like we've been evolving. So it's really, talking about the ingredients and talking about how they're different, how they're made, and what they naturally provide in terms of benefits, and then weaving together those ingredients. Like that's the formula, is how can you best combine ingredients and only deliver the amount that your skin can actually take in. So that whole process was just the lift of education. And sometimes it was literally trying it, getting it on people's skin.
I think that everyone has a different value system and chain, right? So your values as the owners of these companies, if we want to investigate them, we know that you're really interested in the ingredients. You're really interested in keeping the footprint small and keeping it local and sourcing local. And I think that there's everybody has their thing, and that's yours. And I think that there's so many people that resonates with because they care about their health, their wellness, and the planet. And this is impacting health, wellness, and the planet because you're working locally. Your carbon footprint is less. And I'm not here to dictate to anybody, but rather to better understand who you are and what helps you make your decisions to inspire others, right? You're
Absolutely.
inspired by your friend who
Mhm.
wanted to make sure she had really clean products on her body because she didn't want to take in the toxins. And
Exactly.
it sounds from what you're saying that locality is important and using what's in your backyard, so to speak, is
Mhm.
important. And understanding that helps us understand a little bit more about you and your choices. Um,
Absolutely. Good.
so I look at this and I look at the packaging and it's so pretty. Talk to me about your packaging and what you guys were thinking as it relates to sustainability.
Absolutely. Again, trying to make the best choices we can with what's available. So the tubes that you have are made from sugarcane. So that was just like another choice. It's recycled cardboard, it's soy ink, it's anything we can do to kind of reduce our impact. And it's all about that energy exchange. What you see there too, I am, maybe you can see some of this, but I am a art collector because I have no artistic skill whatsoever. So the designs that you see, we one of our customers is a watercolor artist. So she created 9 paintings for us based on our ingredients. And so we've infused that onto our packages. So you get to carry around a little piece of art with you. So it's not just drawings or a digital creation, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's kind of a further expression. Like we want our products to show that they're bursting with these beautiful ingredients that we have, and we couldn't even contain them. So that's what you see on the outside of the package.
So, and that's what differentiates you is that you're in that location and you can lean into that. So for those folks that are not in your location, but in different locations, you got your inspiration from a friend and your surroundings. What are the top 3 things that you would, recommend to those founders and viewers tuning in today to look in front of them, to just make sure that they're paying attention to what's in front of them.
So starting with what you know, starting local and celebrating something that is special to you, that inspires you, that expresses some of your values. Like just start with your heart and then the rest kind of will spell itself out and reveal itself to you. A lot of times as entrepreneurs, we can lead with emotion because it is a part of us. It is something we're super passionate about. And that can sometimes cloud our decision making and our judgment. So if you feel like you're going down that, lean back into the data.
So as an entrepreneur, though, oftentimes people are working around the clock. People are doing all these things. It just feels like a little less because you're doing it for yourself, is my experience, right? If I have to do it for somebody else, it's not quite as motivating for me. And that's, sort of how I feel and why I'm an entrepreneur. And so, you're not the first person to go from a day job to then having their own business. So I can imagine we have other founders and viewers that are tuning in today that might say, what was it like? And how did you, have the confidence and the drive? Did you always know you were an entrepreneur?
I did not at all. I very much enjoy somebody giving me vacation days and like knowing what the system was and sometimes being able to leave work at work and not carry it with you and sleep on it and all those things. I did know I always wanted to have something of my own. I always had the thought process when I was working and telling the story of other like beverage brands. I knew I wanted to tell a different story that I can control, that I didn't have to have approved and all those things. So I guess I always had those control things in my past. And also the creativity, like writing stories from being in school, like looking back, it's all very clear. But that wasn't my ambition.
So as an entrepreneur though, right, you have to be everything in the beginning. You gotta, do the finances, the ingredients, you gotta be the lab person, you gotta be the designer until figure out what you're doing. And so where you're going from doing sales to now doing all of it, what was that like? How did you feel doing that?
I would say, Justine, that ignorance is bliss, number one, and just having confidence that I'm like, I can figure this out. I'm a grown up. And again, doing it with a purpose and a passion behind it kind of makes everything go away. And like you said, it's so much different when it's something you own versus like working for somebody else. And it was just knowing the things you don't know, being vulnerable enough to ask for help, and getting yourself in the rooms to be able to ask the questions and just hear from a place of humility again, like, oh, I'm going to have to plan for that as well. And then what are the steps? For me, it was what is the one thing I can do today that I can control, and then knowing I have to stretch and finding those things out. Um, but yeah, entrepreneurship will teach you how small you could feel, or how much you don't know. And I think that's the key, is being okay with it from the start. Like I can't be expected to be an expert in 10 different fields. I can tell you what my zone of genius is, and either I know I need help with a new hire, or I need help with a coach, or I need help with my suppliers, and being okay with asking those questions. And kind of, I call it bursting your bubble soon, faster, right? Because it becomes like this all-encompassing place and space that can feel really lonely. So the more you can add to your community, the easier it will be, knowing you're not the only one going through it.
Just want to go back to the beginning of this journey for a second. So one thing that's really challenging for people, and I could see people wanting to ask, is how do you know if you should invest in your own company, or what made you choose to do one or the other? Did you fund your startup at the beginning, or did you go raise money, and why?
Yes, we self-funded and we remain self-funded at this point. So I think having the partner that I did from the jump, and knowing that there was a process in place, that was enough of a cushion in my brain of like, okay, if she can take on half of this, where I have like very small amount of knowledge outside the beverage industry, then I know my skill set and I know what I can control, for lack of a better term. I had faith in my skills and her skills, and I'm like, okay, together we can do this. So there, it is definitely a leap of faith, but the faith comes from the skills that you already have and knowing where you want to end up. I feel like that's one of the most important things is what is your big dreamy dream goal?
That's my
And
next question to you.
yeah, like then like how do you back into that? And then it becomes
Yeah,
yes.
where do you see yourself in 3 or 5 years?
This is it's been a huge, interesting, like plot twist along the way. So my original dream was like ending up at a Sephora and a Ulta and becoming, being in Nordstrom and that whole darling thing. What feels good to us is our online business and selling direct to consumers and being able to know them intimately and have those relationships. That's what feels great to us. So we're definitely open to those opportunities, but it's not the definition of success for us anymore. We want to build this online business and keep scaling it up in a way that is sustainable for our lives, for the ingredients that we're using, and it no longer is $1 billion company that we're trying to build.
Mhm.
And that feels great because we want our lives first, and then the opportunity second. So it's our dreamy dream is like sharing this knowledge, sharing these products, being able to serve our audience and have those relationships and do the things that we set out to do. And yeah, that really is the dream now. Just it's
The future,
changed.
the future is a prosperous online business
Yes.
with how many more? So right now, how many SKUs do you have?
We are at 12 right now.
And so
So,
what's the dream? How many SKUs?
um, we don't have plans right now for any additional. So
Okay.
we're kind of like rocking our core collection and kind of seeing what happens. What we've done is offer different kind of gifting opportunities because
Mhm.
that's what our customers have been asking for. Like, how can I share this little piece of the desert and share it, with people that are visiting, with people who are across the country. So we're offering different options that way, really focusing on like seasonal care and like what your skin needs season by season. So yeah, it's really just about the education part of it and yeah, just celebrating what we have and kind of pausing in a way of like, okay, what actually is working and like setting new kind of goals and parameters and benchmarks for each
And
of our
how do you
products.
evaluate that?
Sales is the number one evaluator. But it's also like we have, we'll show up at live events. We have the online business and we do have wholesale as well, especially in like spa locations like a Canyon Ranch and Miraval that are here in Arizona.
Nancy, thank you
And
so much
yes,
for joining
of
me today. It was a
course.
great conversation. For those folks that want to learn more about the product or be able to buy it, where's the best place for them to go?
Sure, earthbasedbody.com, on socials as well, earthbased body. But I would love to offer your listeners a little discount too if you're
Oh, that
open
would
to
be
it.
amazing. What's
Of
that?
course, 15% off their first online purchase. We'll set up a code. How about EI15?
That sounds amazing, Nancy. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
my
For the
pleasure.
listeners and our viewers will be super excited. It's a
Awesome.
great product. I mean, I love the way that I can walk away and I don't feel greasy or have to wash my hands. You know how sometimes when you put face cream on, I always wash my hands after because I feel like it's going to get
Yes.
on everything. With this, it's like you put it on and you just go. And
That was our plan. And it has some light deflectors too, so you get a little mineral veil. So
awesome.
check it out in the sun.
So I want to thank our listeners and our viewers for tuning in today. They are our family, they are our friends, they are our colleagues, they are what keep us going. So for those of you that tuned in today, don't forget, if you're not following us on Instagram, it is at essential.ingredients. You can listen to our podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. It's Essential Ingredients. And for those that love a video, we're on YouTube at Next Gen Purpose. So hope to see you soon. See you here again next week. And Nancy.